You may remember and even be slightly nostalgic for the bopping soundtracks of the video games that were popular in the 1980s. Those video games may have become obsolete, but the music from them, now referred to as chip tunes, has given birth to an entirely new underground music scene.
Chip tunes are basically music that is related to like old 8-bit technologies.
We're talking about people making music that sounds like or using the technologies of those old video game consoles. The origins of chiptune really come from the demo scene, and so that was just people creating non-interactive computer programs that could squeeze the most that they could out of old 8-bit machines. And so part of that was the music.
In Europe and the US, I guess it's a lot of talk about the Commodore 64 game composers like Rob Hubbard and Martin Galway. And then you have all the Nintendo composers like Hip Tanaka, for example. There's different genres. On the Nintendo you would get a lot of progressive rock influences, for example. Whereas on the Commodore 64 in the 80s it would be more sort of traditional rock and disco. Nowadays it's like a lot of bass and dubstep and house, and I mean it sort of changes along with everything else.
And although you might not go down to your local pub and hear a chiptune artist accompany whilst you enjoy a pint, there are special chiptune festivals where you can get your 8-bit fix.
Festivals seem to be a really important part of the chip music scene. Specifically, there was a festival called Blip Festival that ran for quite a few years.
Fitzroy's Evelyn Hotel in Melbourne recently hosted the Square Sounds Festival, where chiptune artists from around the world gathered to perform their retro game gear live on stage.
Visuals are part of the cornerstone of a really good chiptune show, in that they really underline and help to form a foundation for the aesthetic.
You might think that aesthetic would appeal only to gamers and computer geeks, but the scene is growing and finding new audiences.
There's actually a huge range of people that would come sort of from that are interested in those sounds or interested in the way that the music is put together. Even for me, I'm not a big gamer, but I come from a sort of sound design, experimental music background.
There is always going to be like a nostalgic aspect to chip music.
I just love the way that chip sound is mixed with other genres and other things. It's got these harsh waveforms that just sound really abrasive and in your face, but they can also sound really sweet and melodic as well. The same kind of pleasure that you get from music normally.